No, it's that time of the year, and Belmont Stakes is almost upon us. I'm Andy Serling. She's Gabby Gaudet. We're going to be going over the 6 races of the Pick 6 leading into the Belmont Stakes on this card, talking about each race and giving some ideas to you. Keep in mind, Gabby and I will also be doing Talking Horses this Saturday with a more extensive discussion of all 13 races on the tremendous Belmont Stakes card. First, and most important, Naira Bets. You got to be a member of Naira Bets. And remember, if you're not in New York State, the only way you're going to be able to play the Naira Bets Late Pick 5 on Belmont Stakes Day and every day is through Naira Bets. And this is a great time to sign up. Bet 200, get 200. The new member bonus, the promo code is SPRING. Spring's almost over, so take advantage of this opportunity while you can. Race number 1 in this sequence is race number 6. And the 6th race is the Jaipur Invitational. It's going to kick off the $500,000 guaranteed Pick 6, which will culminate in the Belmont Stakes. That field for the Jaipur, we'll take a look at those horses, and we'll go right into it. We'll take a look, Gabby, at last year's winner, Disco Partner. He, Holding Gold, and Pure Sensation all returning in this year's Jaipur.
Yep, that's right. All accomplished turf sprinters in their own right. And Disco Partner, well, this coming Saturday, he'll be making his 2nd start off of the layoff. And, Andy, I really think that he needed that last race, last time out. He's a closing sprinter. I think he's going to get the pace that he wants on Saturday.
He does feel like he's going to get the pace. Of those 3 horses, he would be the only one that I would be using on my tickets. You have to respect him. He's too good a horse not to respect. And he even finished 3rd in last year's Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. And that Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, of course, was won by Stormy Liberal. Now, Stormy Liberal had a big excuse last year in the Jaipur, but as we take a look at the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, he got a good trip and he got it done. Can he beat Conquest Tsunami, though, a horse who beat him in California, though he beat Maidan? And is all the traveling with Stormy Liberal going to catch up to him?
You know, I will say these 2 Peter Miller horses are really difficult to wrap my head around because Stormy Liberal, he is just so consistent and so reliable, whereas Conquest Tsunami, he's really improved in his last few starts. So what can you believe from Conquest Tsunami, and do you think that Stormy Liberal, his back form is going to show up? They have been having a pretty aggressive travel schedule, though, recently.
He's traveling all over the country and all over the world. I don't know about Conquest Tsunami because Pocket Change has speed, Pure Sensation has speed, and Conquest Tsunami, he's got one way to go. He has got to go to the front, and he's quick. Let me ask you about a couple other price horses very quickly. Blind Ambition for Todd Pletcher. He won the Elusive Quality. I wouldn't call it a prep for this, but it was a 7-furlong turf sprint. That's far and away his best race. Could he be the now horse in this race?
I don't think so. I've never been a big fan of this horse, and I don't think you and I have always seen eye to eye on him.
No, I never loved him till his last race was tremendous. I don't know where it came from.
His last race was good, but he set the pace. He got everything really going his way, and there's no way, in any way, is he going to find himself in that scenario on Saturday. He has rated before, but that was going back to his 6-furlong turf sprint at Belmont. He had a crazy suicide pace in front of him.
Well, he may get one here. I just throwing him out there. I don't know what to do with him. He's a tricky horse.
When he's won, he's had very favorable circumstances.
Frisky Magician. He's a long shot. It's going to be on my ticket somewhere. He has improved dramatically since being claimed by Michael Dubb. And last time at Churchill, he had a trip.
He really did. I still question if he's good enough.
I do, too.
These are top-quality turf sprinters. I just don't know if he's at that level yet.
You and I feel exactly the same way. The second leg of this Belmont Stakes Pick 6. It's also the first leg of the Naira Bets Late Pick 5. And you are guaranteed, if you are the only winner and you played it through Naira Bets, of $1 million, at least $1 million. And keep in mind, the only way to play the Naira Bets Late Pick 5 on Belmont Stakes Day and any day, if you're not in New York State, is through Naira Bets. The Woody Stevens is an absolute war. We take a look at the field. We don't have enough time to go through them. You just look at it and you go, wow, this one's going to be a tough one. I know a horse that you're interested in is one of a couple of turnbacks in this race, and this is Strike Power, and we'll take a look at him winning the Swale earlier at Gulfstream.
Now, since then, things have kind of fallen apart for poor Strike Power. Of course, it was a little bit of a debacle, to say the least, in the Florida Derby, but this was a good race. And I know prior to the Swale and to the Fountain of Youth, Mark Hennig was really doing all that he could in getting this horse to rate a little bit to see if the added distances could be possible for Strike Power. Ultimately, I think he knew that he was a turnback horse. He was going to have to eventually get less distance. I know he's supposed to be part of the pace. I think he's going to be sitting a rating trip.
Well, he showed that he could rate and run at least reasonably well going long, and with post 12, he shouldn't have a problem. And, of course, this Woody Stevens is presented by Mohegan's Sun. Strike Power's a major player. He has to be on my tickets. Promises Fulfilled, the horse who wired him when he won the Fountain of Youth, he could be on my tickets as well. The thing about the difference between these two is that Promises Fulfilled, okay, he got in the duel in the Florida Derby with Strike Power. Strike Power, they took a step back, and they're waiting. Promises Phil went to the Derby. Is he going to feel any after effects of that?
Kind of feel like, how is this horse not fried right now? Just because those were two really, really hard races on him. I'm going to take the pass on Promises Fulfilled. I like the freshening that Strike Power is going to get.
I can't argue with a lot of that. Both of them are major players to me, though. World of Trouble, I know, is a horse you're interested in. He's a lightly raced horse, and you go back to his race at Tampa at 7 furlongs early in the year. That race may be good enough to win here now, and if he's improved from there, it's scary. But is he going to be a pace victim?
He will be a pace victim. He's going to be on the lead, or if not close to the pace. And I know he decimated or destroyed that field down at Tampa. The question is really what was in there. There was nothing in there. So I'm worried. The main worry with me on World of Trouble is that he is going to be in a heated, contentious pace battle with better horses than what he faced in his last two starts.
But he is a talented runner, and there are others in here as well, including Canthaka. Canthaka, a little bit earlier, won the San Vicente when he took advantage of a wicked pace. This is his win in the Las Barrera. Now, the horse that isn't circled is the one who's 3 wide will finish second. That's Beautiful Shot. He's coming back. Gabby, I don't know how somebody could like Canthaka and not like Beautiful Shot. I thought Beautiful Shot ran the better race. Canthaka got a beautiful trip.
And I prefer Beautiful Shot over Canthaka in terms of exotics. Going to be using Beautiful Shot perhaps in 4th, but Beautiful Shot, he was part of the pace. That eventually did kind of collapse. He was pressing 3 wide in that pace, whereas Canthaka got a beautiful stalking trip. You couldn't have asked for a better trip. So in terms of analyzing both of their last races, I'd have to prefer a Beautiful Shot.
You have to take Beautiful Shot. He's a bigger price in the line. Couple of horses to mention before we move on. Madison's Luna, who didn't handle the slop at Churchill but ran huge to win the Hutchison, and Engage. Are they good enough?
I think Madison's Luna is good enough. He showed me 2 starts back that he's a pretty talented horse. But again, real post position, fast horses to his outside. Is he just going to get absolutely burned out down on the inside?
I agree, and I think he probably is better than Engage, but Engage may get the right trip in this race. He may not be good enough in total talent, but he may get a trip that compensates for that.
I'm still very dubious of Engage. He beat 2 other horses last time out. He's got an inside post, speed to his outside.
But he's not a speed.
He's
going to drift back. His post won't affect him.
He gives me... He might get lost in the shuffle a little bit.
I'm not a big fan of his, but I think the race may fall in his lap a little bit. He still may be overbet, as a lot of these Chad Brown runners are. Race number 8 is the Longines Just a Game. And you know what else race number 8 is? It's the start of the $1.5 million guaranteed Pick 4, which runs through the Belmont Stakes, races 8, 9, 10, 11. And as I said, it's the Longines Just a Game at 1 mile on the Widener turf course. Take a look at that field. And looking at this race, Gabby, I feel as though every single horse has a chance in here. One of 2 for trainer Chad Brown is a raving beauty. She prepped in our Bogey. Now, that was on the inner turf course, not on the Widener, and she got an absolutely beautiful trip, but she also had a devastating turn of foot. Is she good enough to overcome a much tougher field in the Just a Game?
This was an incredibly impressive performance for her stateside debut. She got out of the gate well. She showed that tactical speed. Everything about this performance was impressive. That said, now she cuts back to the mile. Her overseas form was better going a little bit longer. Does that concern you at all?
I hadn't thought about it as much. I'm just not sure she's going to be quite as good as some of the other horses here. I'll be honest with you, this is a very, very contentious race. The other Chad Brown horse, and you point out milers, off limits, she's a miler, and that's one of the reasons her 2-turn mile and 16th races haven't been quite as good this year. Javier Castellano is going to have to do what Joel Rosario did and drop her back and try to make one run. But if she can get back to the form she showed, especially at the 1-turn mile at Belmont last year, she could be very tough.
I can't get over that performance. It was so brilliant. I really, really thought it was. So I'm hoping that we see the Noble Damsel. I hope that we see something similar to that. I like the cut back in distance for her. She, to me, is the true miler. And last time out, unfortunately, just looked like Sister Charlie and 4-Star Crook were in their own different leagues, but they are 2 very good horses. Yeah, well, 4-Star Crook hit the wire with her. I'm not sure what to do with her. I still wonder if she's not quite as good as she was last year, but you have to use her. Can Lull
middle wire of the field. She set a fast pace down at Gulfstream. It's a much different track than the one at Gulfstream, but she's the controlling speed.
She is the controlling speed. I'm still going to take the wait-and-see approach on her because, yes, she did go very fast. Even talking to Christophe Clement a couple days ago, he said that he was a little bit suspect when he saw Jose Ortiz going that fast on the front end with her off of that significant layoff. I don't know. I'm still suspect if she can translate to that form here.
I think Christophe Clement breaks out into hives anytime one of his horses is on the lead. 4 horses in here, including 2 from Mark Casse, come out of the Distaff Turf Mile run on Kentucky Derby Day. That race was won by Proctor's Ledge, who looks like she's getting back to that terrific form she showed at Saratoga last summer. And she has some tactical speed as well. On Leave is in there. On Leave's been running well. On Leave has a win last year over Off Limits. Who do you like from this bunch? I think all 4 of them have a chance.
I thought On Leave had a good trip last time out and just couldn't get the job done. I thought Proctor's Ledge actually ran pretty well. She also, too, got a very good trip as well. I don't know if I like Proctor. I know she won going the mile last time out. I just don't know if there's other fillies and mares in here that might be more proficient at the mile. And I actually like La Cornell because I thought she was way too far back to be effective last time. She's a filly that likes to have a little bit more tactical speed, and she just got lost.
I think she would benefit from an aggressive ride from Jose Lezcano and try to get in that second position outside a lull. Whether or not she ends up being good enough to win, we'll see. But this field's relatively evenly matched. I think as we go through these first 3 races of this Pick 6, Strike Power would be the horse you might lean on the most because the rest of the races so far feel like spread races.
They really, really do. It's tough.
I don't disagree. Race number 9, it's the Run Happy Met Mile, and it's leg number 4 of this Pick 6, leg number 3 of the Pick 5, leg number 2 of the Pick 4, and as you can see, it's a huge field, but down on the rail is Mind Your Biscuits. And here's Mind Your Biscuits coming from the clouds. He's not even on the picture right now to win at Maidan. He's run twice in a mile. Once was as a maiden, his 4th career start. He wasn't Mind Your Biscuits at that point. Last year, he got a 107 buyer when he finished 2nd behind the very good Sharp Aztec in the Cigar Mile, and that ties the best figure he's ever run. Are you worried about the mile? Are you worried about the traveling coming back in this kind of field? Will he get enough pace to close into? Answer all those questions, Gabby.
How much time do we have? Not enough. I don't think. Honestly, I think B Jersey's going to be the controlling speed in here. Whether or not that's going to collapse in his favor,
but you got to use B Jersey.
We'll see. You have to use.
I think you have to use Mind Your Biscuits too. I'm trying to beat him, but he's such a good horse.
He's a very good horse. He's probably the most talented horse in the field by far.
At least so far.
Yeah, so far. Inside post, closer, don't see the pace coming back to him at a distance that he's not best at. There are a lot of things maybe going against him on Saturday.
I agree. We both mentioned B Jersey, and horses will be on our ticket as well. Bolt Doro, the 3-year-old. Here he is getting nosed out by McKinsey in his 3-year-old return to San Felipe. He was placed first in a somewhat controversial DQ. Whatever it was, he ran very well. Can he bounce back from his Kentucky Derby, cutting back, getting a bit of weight from the elders?
I hope so. This is a horse who I'm leaning on a little bit here in this race. I mean, if you look at the runnings, the last 10 years runnings of the Met Mile, only 2 horses have won from stretching out in distance. Most of them have been turnbacks, or if not, horses who have been staying at the mile. So that's where I'm kind of leaning on. I've always thought from the get-go that Bolt Doro would be a good horse for a turnback in distance. I like this race for him.
Speaking of turnbacks, McCracken did try a mile last time, but mostly ran 2-turn races, and many of us felt he might be more comfortable. Can he take a step forward and be competitive here? Can Good Samaritan turn back in distance for Belmont? Are these horses good enough to get it done?
To me, they kind of feel like others in this race. I do prefer other horses. I mean, McCracken, I think, has to really take the step forward, and he got a perfect trip last time out. There were 4 horses vying for the lead. It collapsed in his face, and he got the job done. I just don't see the same situation on Saturday.
I can't disagree with some of that. Limousine Liberal hit the wire with Warriors Club and Awesome Slew. I thought Limousine Liberal ran very, very well winning the Churchill Downs handicap. I just wonder if he's better on a wet track.
And he's never won outside of Kentucky.
I know.
I looked at
all of his
wins. He did run
second to the horse this race is named, the Run Happy. He ran second to him at Saratoga, but I don't disagree. His best racer, Kentucky, Ransom the Moon. Can he stretch out? I guess he falls in your category of horses that may not be able to stretch out effectively.
But he's interesting to me because his better races have come at 6.5 furlongs at Santa Anita and 7 furlongs. Those are his 2 best races on form. So he intrigues me a little bit. I just don't know if he can run with the likes of B Jersey, who I think definitely can get the distance.
Yeah, very, very interesting running of the Run Happy Met Mile. Let's see. We move forward. It's race number 5 in the pick 6, number 4 in the pick 5. That's the Naira Betts late pick 5. And race number 3 in the late pick 4. It's the Woodford Reserve Manhattan. Chad Brown, who's been dominant recently in this race. Of course, Graham Motion won it last year with Ascend, and Graham will be back as well. But he does have a horse towards the outside, Beach Patrol, and here he is winning on this turf course. This was the inner turf course for the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic at 1.5 miles. Is he a 1.25 mile horse? Is he going to get it done? What do you think of Beach Patrol? He's a darn good horse, and he runs his A race. He's going to win.
Talking to some people, it seems like they're a little bit suspect of him. I think he's the best horse in the race. And even the late fall, he really started to blossom. I think he needed his last race. It was a pretty boggy course. He was beaten by Yoshida, who's a very good horse in his own right. I think he's the best horse in the race.
He is, if he runs his race. But I think Chad Brown's other horse is pretty darn good, too, and that's Robert Bruce, and he drew extremely well on the rail in this race. I think Robert Bruce is a big-time player in here also. I know he got a good trip in the Fort Marcy, beat Spring Quality, but he's a horse that's going to get more pace this time, and he had to be closer to a slow pace than maybe he wants to be.
I like the chart comments of his Chilean races. Much the best, very descriptive.
They really are. They tell you a lot, I agree.
They really tell you a lot.
I only watched a couple of them.
Robert Bruce, he was very impressive last time out. I still think he needs to make a big improvement.
Let's see. We'll see what happens with him. We'll see what happens with High Happy, Sadler's Joy as well, and even the speed, One Go All Go, after you go with more speed. Can High Happy keep cutting back 1/8 of a mile? Can he deal with a little more pace where in this race he's sort of comfortable sitting on a slower pace, got his good rhythm going, and is he good enough to face arguably some tougher horses?
The thing about High Happy, he's tactical. He's got a little bit of natural speed, and yes, he did get a good trip last time out, but that's usually what happens when you have a horse that can sit the trip naturally, unlike Sadler's Joy, who's so dependent on the pace and so dependent on favorable trips. So I think you kind of have to lean on High Happy a little bit out of the Man o' War, because I'm not sure that Sadler's Joy is going to get a similar trip.
I think he's going to get more pace than he got in that race, and I think he has a big chance in here. I think High Happy has a big chance. I think they're both players. Any of the others in there that you're interested in, Gabby?
I think it's just between those players that we mentioned. It kind of just seems like a steep drop after them.
I have a long shot throwing in Channel Maker. And once again, as we mentioned before, keep in mind, Gabby and I will be talking about these races very extensively on Talking Horses Saturday morning before the races. The final leg of all of these multi-race wagers is the Belmont Stakes, presented by Naira Betts. It's the big one. We'll take a look at Justify coming out of the fog, beating Bravado.
Can we actually
beating Tenfold.
See him?
There they are. There he is with good magic. We'll see him burst through the fog. Is Justify going to become the 13th Triple Crown winner?
I watched the Preakness several times early this morning after my cups of coffee, which definitely helped. It was interesting to see that once Mike Smith finally passed Good Magic in the stretch, he actually wrapped up on Justify, trying to give him a little bit of a breather before the finish line, and that's when the cavalry charge came. He has run a very tough Kentucky Derby. He has run a very tough Preakness Stakes. Is it going to catch up to him in the Belmont? Now John the rail post position. Mike Smith has no other option but to go. Can he run 1.5 miles on the lead, potentially with a contested pace after the 2 races that has preceded him?
Well, let me ask you, who's going to contest this pace?
Noble Indy.
So you think a horse part owned by Windstar, who's a major owner of Justify,
I don't think they're going to go after him.
Yeah, I don't know how Noble Indy's allowed in the race if he's not going to the lead, because his only chance to win is to go to the lead.
Yes.
So I don't quite get it, and I don't disagree.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
What about Bravado? You think he gets a more aggressive ride? I do.
Okay. That's interesting.
I don't see Wayne Lucas sitting back. He takes it. Wayne Lucas won a lot of big races by being aggressive. Isn't that what he
kind of wanted to do going into the Preakness, and it just did not transpire?
But I don't think he's going to let Justify be walking along in the front end. I think he's aggressive. Let's talk about some others. What about Tenfold? I think Tenfold's a major player in this Belmont Stakes. To me, he was unlucky in the Preakness. I don't trust Justify coming out of it. He's the horse to beat. He must be used. But Tenfold, to me, is a horse that had a bit of a trip in that race.
He did, and I definitely agree with your analysis of the Preakness. The only problem with him is that doesn't he kind of feel like those typical horses that just run well in the Preakness don't necessarily run well in the Belmont?
Maybe, but he's a lightly raced horse for a pretty darn good trainer, and I think he could be improving. What about Vino Rosso?
This is who I like. I'm Andy. I have stuck with him since before the Tampa Bay Derby. I'm not going to go down without a fight. And this just seems like the right race to stick with him once more. Todd Pletcher has just been known to get these horses to peak the Belmont Stakes, and he just kind of gives me a similar vibe as Taprit.
All right. Todd Pletcher, he's certainly done well in the Belmont Stakes, wins and placings as well. That is a synopsis of the 6 races that will comprise the Belmont Stakes guaranteed $500,000 pick 6. There's $1.5 million if you're the lone winner of the pick 5, and of course $1.5 million guaranteed in that late pick 4, all culminating with the Belmont Stakes. And remember, the NYRA late pick 5 on these last 5 in the sequence, you can only play it through NYRA if you're not in New York State. You got to join NYRA. Head on over to NYRABets.com. Bet 200, get 200. The new member bonus. Promo code is SPRING. That's NYRABets.com. Gabby, thank you so much. And keep in mind, Talking Horses Saturday for a more extensive discussion of these and all the races on the Belmont card. Enjoy what's going to be a wonderful Belmont Stakes Day.